In today's video, I'm going to show you how I reupholster these antique chairs. I was surprised to find that fabric underneath, and also surprised to find some other things. But I didn't let that deter me from taking off all of the cording and the fabric, choosing new fabric, and cutting out new foam and reupholstering these chairs. So today I'm going to show you all the tips and tricks I learned along the way, and hopefully give you the confidence boost you need to let you know that this is definitely a project that you can tackle by yourselves. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, Heart and Home Crew. I hope you guys have been loving this living room series. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go check out the last couple of videos where we were making over my mom's living room. And today we have exciting news. We are going to reupholster these chairs. I have been itching to do this since I set them down in here, but I've just had a million other things to do. There's a lot of layers involved in reupholstering a chair. We'll get into that. Like I said, I don't think that these are vintage. If you watched my living room makeover part 1, I don't think that they're antique. Like honestly, this looks something to me as if it was from World Market or something like that. I definitely feel, you know, that these are from World Market or something. It's so funny though, because I was watching reupholstery videos, you know, being like, okay, we're gonna do this. And watching the videos, you know, of course it gave me the confidence that YouTube does. Thank goodness for YouTube. We know with the crown molding that it doesn't always work out. Okay, the crown molding is not making sense. Again, if you haven't watched part 1, go back and watch that. But the video gave me confidence, and it also made me like really take a look at these chairs and realize that these aren't even put together that well. There's like glue all that you can see. The stitching isn't really hiding even where the glue should be hiding, and this is like just really thick. I don't know, it's just so funny, you know. I feel like for those of you who do DIY, maybe you feel this way, where we put such pressure on ourselves for it to be perfect because we're doing it ourselves. But then when I look at something either that I'm recreating or something that's been made from a store, and I just find that a lot of the times I'm like, oh, like actually when I really look at this chair, it doesn't have great craftsmanship, which I think is also just a sign of our times. Unfortunately, you know, we're in a fast-paced society. We're pushing things out. We've got IKEA quality furniture. Nothing wrong with IKEA. You know, I love a good IKEA moment every now and then, but things just aren't made the way that they used to be, which is why I love antique furniture, such as the cabinet that I made with all of that fine detail on it. Is just so beautiful. So anyways, it just gave me the confidence to look at this and be like, well, actually this isn't a great job to begin with, and I think I can do better. So let's go ahead and undo this chair and see what's hiding underneath. Here we go. Where should we start here? Haha. One part done. There's other fabric under here.
That looks so hard.
It is. They used really deep staples. The staples they used on this thing are insane. As far as from the other videos, and I watched at least like 5 reupholstering videos, it wasn't this hard to get the fabric off. Just bear that in mind. Don't let this deter you from trying this yourself. These people were just insane. I can't get it off. Hey. What is this?
What?
Looks like hair. Okay, you guys, it has been a second for you, and it probably feels like nothing's changed because I think I'm wearing the same shirt that I wore when I took the upholstery off of these chairs for the first time. It has been weeks. I would even reckon to say it's been over a month since I have kind of come back to this project. I've slowly been chipping away and taking out like the extra nails and that kind of thing and working on the second chair, but honestly, I have barely touched these chairs. I went to, I don't know if it was 4 or 5 local upholstery stores looking for fabric, and I could find nothing. I had actually bought a beautiful neutral tweed fabric, and I put it on these chairs, and it made them look corporate. I had no idea that there was actual vintage fabric underneath these chairs when I first bought them. They're clearly vintage after seeing this fabric, and so I just felt like it was a disservice to just put something so plain and boring and neutral on them. So then I went on the hunt for some beautiful fabric, and I thought vintage fabric, I thought floral fabric, you know, kind of paying homage to the original fabric that's on the chairs. I found nothing. I ended up going on Spoonflower. Spoonflower is a beautiful website. They have custom made fabrics that designers can upload, artists can upload, and you can buy from them, and you can have them printed in any kind of fabric basically that you want. Now that I've said all that and you're just like, show us the fabric, here we go, you guys. I'm so nervous. So I bought this, I think it's called premium cotton is what it is. It's good for upholstery, but here is the fabric. I will give you a close-up. It is gorgeous. If you guys can see the beautiful roses, and again, I was going for that, you know, blue and pink kind of to complement the rug. But yeah, it's just really beautiful, and I kind of just wanted to make sure that I was looking at a piece of art. So let me show you it on the chairs. I truthfully have not even like opened it up this much. I've just been afraid. I've been afraid because I looked so long and so hard, and then finally I was just like, hey, this is beautiful. And honestly, I think it is going to complement the wood in the chairs as well. The white was just, it was just doing nothing for the wood. Whereas I feel like this is just gonna be really beautiful. And, you know, we're gonna enjoy them in this living room, and maybe they'll end up in a sitting room at our future house. Maybe they'll end up in the girls' bedroom. Who knows? Honestly, I know the chairs themselves are gonna be beautiful. It's more just making sure that everything kind of flows together. I may have to change some of the throw pillows. I'm gonna tweak some things, and hopefully these chairs make more sense. So you're gonna wanna start by ironing out your fabric. This just helps get rid of any creases that might be showing. And then I'm taking my foam and cutting it down to size. I'm basically just covering up that little divot that I had in the center of the chair. So I'm just taking a Sharpie marker and going along, and then I'm gonna cut that out. Once I have that cut out to size, I'm taking the white batting and putting it over top. This, you want to make sure it goes all the way around the edges. That way it goes exactly where your fabric's going to go, so you have the perfect rounded edge. Cut 2 of those out. After cutting out a second foam backing for my second chair, I'm separating the fabric from all of this old foam. I'm going to use that in a minute, but I just wanted to clear this chair off. This thing is so old. I don't know if this is wool, horsehair, what I'm working with here, but it's actually really cool. To build back up that base, I'm putting more green foam on. I basically just took my sheet, plopped it down, and then made sure it didn't move and traced all around the base of the chair, cutting out where I needed to. I forgot to film it, but I also put some extra padding in where you could see that front of the chair was kind of slipping down a little bit, just some more green foam, and then I did the same thing with the white, but making sure to overlap it, and it's going all the way to the edge. Now the beginning of the fun part, we get to place our fabric. So you want to make sure that you don't go too off course here because you don't want to waste too much fabric, but basically you can play around and see where you want it to go, and then just take the old fabric and cut completely around it. It's up to you if you want to add an extra inch or 2 on the edge. If it's your first time upholstering, it might seem tempting, but honestly I find the more fabric you have, the more room you have for trouble, in the sense that it can bunch up and it can get twisted and moved around a lot. Whereas if you just kind of keep it the size it needs to be, it might be a little tougher to pull it in some areas, but it really makes it a lot easier in the cleanup. And what you just saw me do there was putting a staple on north, south, east, and west of the chair before I go into anything. And right here on the corners, I'm just tucking them under, and that just prevents any tearing and just makes it look a lot cleaner. Once I have a few staples on each side of the chair, then you can start to go ahead and put more staples in, just making sure that you're constantly checking your fabric and that it's not shifting and that it's still gonna fit all around. Honestly, you guys, you just wanna take your time with this and just make sure you're always looking at the entire chair. Don't just look at one space as its own separate section. Always look around and see what you're doing. You can start the cleanup here, or honestly you can just wait until you've done the entire chair, but you want to make sure that all of those frayed edges and extra fabric are gone because you don't want them sticking out of your beautiful chair. Now we're going to go ahead and do the top, and honestly it's so much easier than the bottom. So I just made sure that my foam stayed in place while I attached the fabric, so I just stapled that in. I put the bottom green and the white on top, and now I'm just placing my fabric, making it sure where I want it, and then doing the same thing. Put a staple top, bottom, left, and right, and then doing the corners before you go crazy. So put one in each corner, and this also just kind of helps prevent the bunching, and then just going all the way around. The arms are super simple as well. Again, just making sure that you're picking your fabric placement where you want it, and then I used the old fabric to cut the new shape, and then doing the same thing north, south, east, and west with those staples before you kind of go crazy. And I did put a little bit of padding underneath the arms. I didn't show that. I'm now just repeating the process on the second side, and I just wanted to kind of go over some things with you. Again, don't be afraid to touch your fabric, to move your fabric. You want to make sure you're pulling it taut and tight, finding a good balance so it's not too tight, but also it's not too loose. Also, don't kid yourself and try and do this with a hand stapler. You will break your wrist. Honestly, this thing was 40 bucks, and I will link it down below, as well as the air compressor that I used for it. It saves your life and will save so much time and headache. Make sure you're keeping your staples as close to the top and the bottom of your furniture as you can, just so that later on when you're covering it with your piping that it can be completely covered, and make sure to cut away all of that excess fabric so it doesn't show up when you put your trim on. All right, you guys, the chairs are done for the most part. We still have to add on the trim. So they call it cording or piping, and basically it's just to cover up all of those staples that are now all the way around the chairs. Looks so good. It was a lot simpler than I thought. Honestly, you guys, just watch videos, read tutorials, read blogs, and then do them again while you're doing a project. If it ever seems like, oh my gosh, how does she know this? It's because I'm constantly learning, constantly reminding myself. So I just want to throw that out there. They're not perfect, but I mean, pretty dang proud of myself. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do that cording piping like I said. So what we're gonna need is the fabric, and then this, like I said, it's called cording or piping depending on where you live, but basically it's just cotton, kind of like a rope. You can get it in different sizes. This one is a 1/4 inch. That's pretty standard. I'm gonna do a double piping just because I feel like it looks a little prettier, a little bit more polished. You can do single if you want. So what we're gonna do is basically we're gonna lay out this fabric, and we need to cut it on the bias. So instead of cutting like straight through the fabric, that makes the fabric be very tight, and when you have to go around corners, it doesn't make it bend as easily. Whereas if you cut at either a 45 or a 60-degree angle, it allows for a lot more leniency around your corners. We're gonna do double cording like I said, so we're gonna end up actually kind of, have I got enough? I did not get enough. How did I ever think this was enough for 2 chairs? I'm definitely gonna have to go to the store and get more. So, these are the never-ending chairs, I swear. I will get them done before I die. So I had to get a special, hang on. So I actually had to get a special foot for my sewing machine. This is a, I don't know what it's called. I'll have it linked down below. Everything I use, I'll link down below, the fabric and all that stuff. But basically it allows me to do the double piping on my sewing machine super easily. You can also buy a single one, and that way if you just want to do the single piping, you can do that as well. It allows so that the piping can fit through when I'm sewing. We're gonna go ahead and get started, and I'll walk you guys through it as well as I'm doing it. So basically they take their fabric and then they go from the corner, and they have like a lovely yardstick. I just have this right angle measuring thingy-mabobby. I know lots about stuff. And they take it and they go right on the corner, 45-degree angle, and then they just mark their lines. And so if you're doing a single piping, they do 1.5 inch wide strips. You guys are gonna see in a second. I'm doing double, so I'm gonna do 3-inch wide strips. And then what you do is, you know, get your angle, and then you're gonna mark all the way down, and we're gonna measure 3 inches, mark all the way down, and just keep measuring 3-inch chunks. And it's okay that they're getting smaller, because I'm gonna show you how I'm going to sew them together so they can be one continuous piece, and then we don't have to like piece a bunch together. Okay, so we've cut our strips for our cording, and you're going to want to make sure that you measure all of the areas of your chair that's going to need cording. So that is the top, the arms, and the bottom. And now I'm going to show you how to put those strips together so that you can make longer pieces depending on where you're putting this on your chair. So you're just going to take 2 pieces of fabric, one with the fabric side up and one with the fabric side down, making sure you have some hangover. You're going to slightly turn it so that way you have a little V at the top and a little V at the bottom, and you're going to sew between that V right along the line where my finger is. This is so when that's sewn together, you can flip it like this, and you can see it now looks like one continuous piece of fabric, and we will cut the excess off. So here I am at the sewing machine, again, going straight down that line that I showed you, the little V to the little V, all the way across, and you guys can see what it looks like. And then just make sure to cut that excess fabric off at the back, as well as any little pieces on the side, as well as the thread. And then you're going to change out your foot on your sewing machine. So take off the regular one, and we're putting on that double presser cording thing that I said. It's very simple. There's just a little latch at the back where you can take one off and put one on. And then for the piping, when you cut it, you're going to notice that it starts to fray. So just use some tape and cut that off, and that'll keep it together. Okay, to make your piping, you're going to put your cording inside of your fabric, and you're going to fold that over about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. And then you're going to take a totally separate piece of cording and place that as tight as you can right beside it. And then you're going to fold the fabric over, again, keeping it as tight as you can. And then this is going to be what we sew. So one more time, you're putting your cording in fabric side down, and then you're going to fold that over about 1/2 inch to 1 inch, depending on how much that you need. And then you're going to take a totally separate piece of cording. You're going to put that right beside as tight as you can get it, and then fold that over. So what was on the left now goes on the right, and then you're going to see a little line in the center, and that's where we're going to sew down. So you're just gonna place it where it needs to go, and that needle's gonna go right down the center in between. It's gonna flow nicely into that foot that you guys put on, and you wanna make sure while you're sewing that you're also fixing it at the bottom. So you're gonna kind of have to keep doing this where you're putting the cording beside each other, flipping it over, and letting it run through. You're gonna see that I have my thumb placed, and I don't let that go as I'm sewing, so that way I can know, okay, it's time to go back down to the bottom and make sure that it's all fixed, take a pause, and make sure that it's where it needs to be, and then I just continue sewing on like that. You guys, oh my gosh, I feel like a professional. This is amazing. So we have our piping for the chair. So I have this extra piece and we'll just cut that close so you won't even see it when it's on the chair around all of the staples. I'm so excited. So then very simply and carefully, you're just gonna cut that extra piece of fabric off of the back, so then that way you can't see it when you glue it to your chair. You just wanna make sure that you're careful and you don't cut your cording. Okay, so here I'm putting together the chair the way that it looked on the original chair that I unupholstered, but I actually like the way that I do it the second way. So kind of ignore what I'm doing here, but I just want to show you how I started this chair. You can do staples or you can do hot glue. I know that sounds crazy, but that's honestly what everybody recommended, because the staples with the double piping can sometimes make your piping pucker and it just doesn't look as good, and hot glue honestly works amazing. So you just want to make sure that you're doing it in small sections. This is something that you do not want to rush. Honestly, just a couple of inches, put on a podcast, make sure you have no plans, and go slow and just press that in. I definitely did burn my fingers a bunch just wiping off excess glue as quickly as I needed to. And you can see here how it's so important that you keep those staples low so that way they don't show when you put your cording on. This is also why I chose double piping, because it hides them so much better. If I had single, I feel like it would have been too thin. When you go around the arms of the chair, again, just make sure you're going super slow, keep it as close to the wood as you can. And then when I go around a corner, I like to pre-look at it, and then that way I can see if I have too many staples that are showing that I might need to pull out, or if I have too much fabric. And then I just keep my scissors handy and I just cut that down. I'll show you closer up in a minute how I did that exactly. And then just going around the arms, again, I just can't reiterate enough, just go slow, look at it from all angles, and take your time, and you'll be so happy that you did. Okay, this is how you should be starting your chair. So you're going to take your cording and you're going to cut the back side of it down a little bit, and you're going to pull back the fabric and get the cording exposed so you can cut it down a little bit. You want to make sure that you cut them evenly so that it looks nice on your chair, and you can even cut the little piece of back fabric off a little bit so you have less. You can see that there, and then you're just going to scrunch it all together and fold it over, and when you have the hot glue you can kind of get rid of any little excess fraying that's happening, and then just glue that in place. You're going to fold it over and you're going to see you have a nice little piece that you can use to start and end your chair. So this is what I do to start the bottom piece. This is what I'm going to do to start and end the round piece, as well as the side of the arms. So for the first chair, I just followed what the old chair had done, but then on this one, I just thought it would be hidden a lot better if I just started it at the far edge. So I did that. And then I just want to show you my glue gun for those interested. Again, everything is linked down below that you may need. And as promised, here's how I do those corners again. So just testing it without any glue first to see what it's going to look like. And I can see that little corner is going to show. So I'm just going to take my scissors and cut that off. Again, if there's any little fraying bits, you can just use a tiny, tiny dab of hot glue and that'll keep that all together. And then you can add your hot glue on, again, going very slowly, very carefully, trying not to get it on your fabric at all, except for where it needs to go. And then just going around that arm as best you can. And then to finish off your cording, you're just going to do it the exact same way that you started. I like to cut a little bit extra just in case, but you're just going to do the same thing where you take the back piece, cut it, fold it down, cut the cording, and then make it into a nice little ending. And I want to say too that I always made sure that I had more than enough cording. So when I measured, I actually added 5 to 10 inches onto the length because I like to do all of these in one section. If you do need more cording, you can just kind of do this beginning and ending piece right here where you put them together. I just feel like it looks a little bit less professional. And so I just like to make sure that each of the sections of the chair are done with just one continuous strand of cording. Alright you guys, a quick little walk down memory lane to see what these chairs looked like before. There wasn't truthfully much wrong with them, they just weren't my style and they were a little bit outdated and just truthfully lacking that vintage charm that they so desperately deserved. So here they are now in their full glory. I honestly feel like this fabric just plays on that antique wood so well. I am so happy with how it turned out and how they pair together. I feel like this is the fabric that these chairs were always meant to have. I just feel like truthfully they complement each other, that this fabric was made for this chair and this chair was made for this fabric. I love all the details of this chair and I feel like they stand out so much more now because of this fabric. I'm getting Secret Garden vibes and I'm loving it. I'm so happy with how the cording turned out. This project was truly a labor of love, months in the making, and honestly, it was worth every effort. I think I've already said it, but I love these chairs so much. My kids are not allowed to sit on them, so I'm kind of kidding. Obviously, I want these chairs to be loved by my family. I want them to be just a cozy place for them to sit up and read a book or watch a movie. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this transformation. If you haven't already, make sure you check out all of the different elements that we've done in this room, like that side table, the walls, everything. It's been an adventure, and we are excited to continue it with the coffee table next week. And we are also going to add in some more design elements and hopefully finish up this space. So thank you guys again for watching. Subscribe if you aren't already. We would love to have you here. And in the meantime, give this video a thumbs up if you liked this transformation. Thank you so much, guys. I'm so thankful for all of you. Bye. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
You blow-kiss? Good, thanks for watching.
Bye.